Welcome to the bold analysis. Whatever is happening in DR Congo is having a bearing on our country, Kenya. M23 rebels believed to be getting backing from the Rwandan army for the last 24 hours invaded the Eastern DR Congo region of Goma, an area believed to be really rich on minerals. The escalating violence threatens peace, creating a humanitarian crisis in the DR Congo. And while on the other side, Congo protests have also erupted on the west side of Congo. Rwanda is accused of facilitating the M23 rebels. And today, when protesters went to town to Kinshasa, several embassies were targeted. And when you look at the list of the embassies that have been targeted, there is every reason to worry about this development. Rwandan protesters in Congo attacked embassies of Rwanda, Belgium, France, US, and South Africa, and Belgium. And I've seen an information that have just been shared by Musalia Mudavadi, the Foreign Affairs CS. I strongly condemn the attacks on Kenya's embassy and personnel in Kinshasa, by rioters protesting the conflict in Eastern DRC. The violence, looting, and destruction also targeted Ugandan embassy with the planned assaults on South Africa and US. I think what the Nairobi team are trying to show, and is saying in response, I engaged DRC's foreign minister. She acknowledged the incident and assured swift action, including compensation for damages to the embassy. It is deeply concerning that these attacks occurred in presence of security forces without intervention. 2 Kenyan staff members were forced to flee for safety despite the DRC's obligation under international law, including Vienna Convention on Diplomatic Relations, to protect diplomatic missions and personnel. Now, Kenya has raised this, and I see Musalia Mudavadi trying to make it look like it was a bigger target of African embassies, that Uganda and South Africa were also targeted. But that was not it. It must really worry the Nairobi team, and it is worrying Nairobi team, that while protesters were singing chants against the death of imperialists, and that is why they were targeting the Belgium, France, and the US embassy, Kenya found itself in the mix. So why are we really there? And why the Nairobi team, even as Musalia Mudavadi tries to downplay this attack on the Kenyan embassy, that is the first time that a Kenyan embassy there is getting attacked. President Ruto, in his capacity as the chairman of East African Community, made a statement yesterday of about a day before, especially when this started.
The escalating conflict and deteriorating situation in Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo are a grave concern to the people and governments of East Africa. Noting the worsening humanitarian crisis exacerbated by ongoing military actions, including the closure of airspace in Goma, I call for the immediate and unconditional cessation of hostilities. I emphasize the obligation of all parties to facilitate humanitarian access to affected populations and urge both sides to pursue peaceful means to resolving this tragic conflict. These alarming developments, coupled with rising diplomatic tensions in the region, underscore the urgent need for peaceful resolution to a conflict that continues to inflict untold suffering on the people, particularly women and children. As the current chair of the East African Community, Kenya is aware of the region's critical responsibility in de-escalating violence and facilitating dialogue between the parties involved. We confirm and firmly believe that a sustainable solution can only be achieved through engagement, constructive dialogue, and a renewed commitment to peace. I call on the parties to the Luanda process on Eastern DRC and appeal specifically to my brothers, President Felix Tshisekedi and President Paul Kagame, both of whom I have had the occasion to speak to this evening, to heed the call for peace from the people of our region and the international community. I call on them to dedicate all efforts towards achieving peace in Eastern DRC and restoring good neighborliness.
Of course, calling for his hostility, calling for ceasefire when this attack happened. It is reported that several Rwandan government have released several videos of several Congolese soldiers that have surrendered to the M23 rebels that are believed to be getting backing of the Rwandan army. So President Ruto released this statement, and diplomats warned that that was a miscalculation because, remember, Nairobi released a statement before even the African Union chairperson, Mohamed Faki, African Union Commission chairperson, and the AU chair. So President Ruto released that statement and even said that that Tshisekedi and Kagame was supposed to attend the emergency summit that was being held in Tanzania. Emergency summit to try to look into what is going on there. Remember, Kagame did not attend the Tanzania summit that happened today on 28th in Tanzania. So the president released that statement, but Tshisekedi have a bone to chew with William Ruto because William Ruto have close ties with Kagame. Kagame is his personal friend, and Kagame is on the receiving end as the mastermind of a Rwandan army supporting the M23 rebels. So they issued that statement, and it's showing probably a misstep. Then apart from that, William Ruto also acknowledged the fact that he received a statement. He spoke to President Macron, and I want us to get that here. I have spoken to President Emmanuel Macron of France on the situation in the Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo. He has expressed support for the regional efforts to deal with the challenge. President Macron also committed his country's support for the interventions being carried out and for Kenyan's participation in other peace initiatives in Somalia, Sudan, and South Sudan. Now, President Ruto mentioned he talked to Macron. The DR Congo officials are very uncomfortable with William Ruto. They are very uncomfortable with Kenya. Remember, even as we talk, our ambassador, a Kenyan ambassador in Kinshasa, the Tshisekedi never received his credentials. Is yet to receive. In fact, he refused to receive the credentials of Kenyan ambassador. And then the President William Ruto, of course, posturing as one of the people that is pushing for this peace, is also on the receiving end because the Nairobi peace process that Uhuru Kenyatta was leading was frustrated by the locals here. And it is clear that Kenyan embassy was actually attacked in Congo. I've seen a statement that South African President Ramaphosa have also spoken to Kagame over the attack on the South African soldiers base in Goma. Something that has really not worked very well as we talk. But I want us to get a soundbite from Lumumba. PLO Lumumba made a statement about the state of affairs in Goma. And because he understands this terrain, you will really get the deeper understanding that whatever Nairobi team might be taking lately is actually beyond us.
Because if you have conflict, and it is estimated that there are over 120 armed groups in Eastern Congo only, that tells you how complex it is. And these armed groups are financing their activities through illegal mining. It also must be understood that Congo, like most African countries, are victims of the arbitrary boundaries that were created in Berlin. People never remember this as often as they should. But the conference that was held in Berlin in 1884 and 1885 was actually known as the Congo Conference. It was at the behest of King Leopold of the Belgians to deal with the question of Congo, and that is how the partition then came about, in order to give people spheres of influence so that the European powers would not fight one another as they extracted things from the Congolese people. Now, why do I say it is complex? And why do I say that the boundaries are also part of the problem? Because of the arbitrariness with which the boundaries were drawn, you now find different ethnicities across borders. Take, for example, Rwanda and Urundi, what was known as Rwanda and Urundi. You find people who were described as Tutsis and Hutus, and you find also a large population of the Tutsis, sometimes referred to as the Banyamulenge, who are in Congo, so that they are Congolese. They are not Rwandese on the basis of the boundaries that we have. Nyerere, the former president of Tanzania, actually during the early days in 1970, when he was asked to mediate, said, when we talk about the Tutsi in Congo, they are not Rwandese. They are Congolese, according to the boundaries that we inherited. And for that reason, it is incumbent upon the governments and administrations in Congo to treat them as Congolese. The fact that they have their kith and kin in Burundi and in Rwanda does not make them Rwandese or Burundians. And he made this example, he gave this example. For example, the Maasai in Kenya and the Maasai in Tanzania, they are Maasais, but they are those who, by dint of the boundaries, are now Kenyans and others Tanzanians. And that is yet another conflict. It is a conflict which has given birth to what is now known as the M23. The M23 are people of Tutsi origin who are Congolese. But they are now being told, no, you are not Congolese, you are Rwandese, and that is why you see the frequent accusations that the Rwandese government is supporting them, and the frequent denials by the Rwandese administration that they are not supporting them. The other conflict that has emerged in Congo is that Congo has become what one may say a rare ground for fighting groups from Uganda. The ADF, when they were expelled by the current NRM regime, went into the forests in Congo. You remember that even Joseph Kony at one time went to Central Africa through Congo. There is also evidence to suggest that there are Burundian fighters, rebels also in Congo, in those thick forests. So it is a combination of factors.
Ladies and gentlemen, I think Nairobi and President Ruto needs to keep off this. And I think from the way, if you look at the horrible scenes from DR Congo, I've seen videos of people fleeing their homes, and they're crossing over to Rwanda, and I think the neighboring Uganda. That is what some videos I've seen that, and what's happening there is more of a humanitarian crisis than fighting for the minerals. And probably one of the deep things there is about the fight for the minerals. So the rage that is happening in that DR Congo, it's like Kenya's attacked, for example, like Kenya's attacked on the west side, so it is the east side that then protesting to stand in solidarity with this other side. President Ruto must not rush with statements, especially at this time, because I think Nairobi overreacted swiftly without assessing the extent and the scope. As much as the president is the chairperson of East African Community, but why is it that AU kept quiet? And that is the big umbrella body. Well, there are several other umbrella bodies within the continent. Why is it that IGAD was even quiet? Why is it that Organization of African Union, or AUC, this one that really is now Mohamed Faki, kept quiet? The African Union chairperson was also quiet. So I think Nairobi needed to a little bit tight-lipped, because Kinshasa is also not very comfortable with us. Then Ruto association with Kagame, who is also on the receiving end as supporting M23 rebels, is already a red flag. Why we need to keep our space. We must not really show our presence there. And then lastly, with Raila Odinga's AUC candidature, Nairobi must be extra careful, because there are those who support DRC and there are countries who support Rwanda. Now, Rwanda have been told to make sure that they withdraw their soldiers if their soldiers have mingled and have joined with, are actually backing the M23 rebels, but they are saying they must defend, or they must keep on a defensive edge, and that is why even if they're saying they withdraw, but they must defend themselves from those insurgents. So, with Raila Odinga's candidature, we need not to be seen as taking side or supporting either side, because it might get its way into the February vote. The February vote is very critical. Of course, I'll do some critical analysis about it, but the February vote is very critical, and we must stay away, even as we try to navigate our way around it. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you. Kindly subscribe to our channel. We are heading to 100,000 subscribers. Only 400 to reach that target, and so subscribe as we go through and achieve that target. Kindly remember, when you subscribe, subscription is absolutely free. And in the podcast, we understand that there are also personnel, Kenyan personnel, I think 3 are injured, 3 Kenyans are injured, who are working for the embassy. And clearly, if you read Musalia Mudavadi's statement, you'll understand that Kenyan embassy, our embassy, was attacked in DR Congo while police were seeing. That is what the personnel are saying there. So you can see that we were not protected. And why is it that there are 54 African countries? Why is it that Kenya will be the only one to be targeted? There, that Uganda and Rwanda was targeted. Of course, Rwanda was attacked. Uganda and South Africa were just targeted, but Kenya and Rwanda were attacked. Why Kenya? So Nairobi team must really interrogate about their relationship with Rwanda and that with DR Congo, so that we also don't suffer more damages. Thank you.